Welcome to Between the Reads, where we shine a spotlight on some of the most talented Black authors in the industry to discuss their works of fiction and the inspirations behind them. Each episode will dive into the rich and diverse world of literature, exploring everything from historical fiction to romance and speculative fiction to YA and beyond. Tune in as we celebrate the voices of Black authors and the power of storytelling. Are you ready, Boos and Bros? Then sit back, relax, and let's get to it. Cheryl Head's latest book is Time's Undoing, published by Dutton Books, which was an indie next book pick for March. Cheryl writes the award-winning crime fiction series, The Charlie Mack Motown Mysteries, whose female PI protagonist is queer and Black. Cheryl is an Anthony nominee, two-time Lambda Literary Award finalist, and winner of the Independent Publishers Book Awards Silver Ippy and the Golden Crown Literary Society's Goldie Award. She is vice chair of the Boucher Kahn Board of Directors. Cheryl, welcome to Between the Reads.
Audra, so nice to be here with you. Thank you for the invitation.
Oh, you are most welcome. This book. Please tell our readers what Warn Me When It's Time is all about.
Yes. Well, okay, so I was in vacationing in Maine a few years ago, surrounded by white people, but that's another whole story. There's not a lot of us. So I'm listening to public radio, and there's a segment about how the FBI during the Obama administration had thwarted all these attempts against the president's life. And I thought, and it's a report that anybody can find. And I thought, just America's crazy. Now, I'm thinking America's crazy. So fast forward to I'm back home in Washington, D.C., and I'm reading the newspaper, and they're talking about a conspiracy to kidnap and murder the governor of Michigan. And I thought, I'm taking those two pieces of information. I said, I've got to write about this. I don't understand who these people are, where this hatred and vitriol comes from. What's the attitude here? So I began doing research about the nascent beginnings of these hate groups in America. I wanted to set it in Detroit area and in Michigan, where my book series is located. And girl, it scared me. I was scared a lot of times when I was writing this book. I was in the chat rooms, and it's just out in plain sight, these hate groups and the things they talk about and the conspiracy.
You went into some of these chat rooms?
Yes, and you can do it, and you can hear it, and you can set up your own. You can go in there and be as immersed as you want to be. It was frightening. I had to, towards the end of writing this book, I had to walk around and really shake off that stuff. It changed me in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Well, I guess my next question was going to be what inspired you to write a story that revolves around hate crimes, but I guess there we have it. But
I just wanted to give it's like a clarion call for us to be vigilant that this is happening, and it's folks that are around us, and they don't look a certain way.
Yeah, that was the thing that was so scary. That's kind of one of the questions I'm going to ask later, but it was just so, you kind of know these things, but I guess you kind of, cognitive dissonance, you just kind of want to
have some disbelief.
Yeah, but the characters in this book and the people that were part of these hate crimes, these were not like rednecks like I live around here in Glen Burnie, Maryland. These are like...
Right. They're not carrying guns in their hands.
No,
or wearing something, I hate black people, or I hate Jews, or t-shirts.
They are congressmen and senators and businessmen.
Fast food workers and your mail person,
Yeah. Scary. This book,
it really is.
A great book, but this book shook me because, like I said, I was just like, oh my God, because that this stuff happens.
Right.
And it's like, wow, is it really that deep for y'all that you just...
And I didn't want to write a book that people don't want to pick up and read, but I do want to write a book that is steeped in the truth that exists around us. I just want people to be a little vigilant and be a little and aware, not to frighten you and you can't go places, but just have your antenna up.
Right. I still can't, like, I'm just thrown by the fact that you were in these chat rooms.
Yes.
It was, so you can just go in and...
At the time, this is a few years ago when I was researching the book, but at the time you could just be there, just
They didn't have any way to like check
No, there was
your
no password.
nothing.
Yeah,
No way to check that
in
you're
there.
one of them. Nothing.
Yeah, they just had a thread going, talking about what they were going to
Wow.
do and who they didn't like, and a lot of knowledge too about the Constitution and the amendments and the approach they want to take, and things
Hmm.
like this nation was built for white men and it should stay that way. I mean, that was a whole thread.
Wow. Mm.
No,
Well, my next question was going to be,
okay,
what kind of research did you do
yes,
to accurately portray the various religious communities and the hate groups in the
yeah,
novel? So that
yeah.
the chat group was one part of it. What else did you do as far as
Yeah.
research went?
So yeah, that's a great question about the religious group. So I'm well traveled and I'm really interested in religion, and I read
Hmm.
about religion, and
Hmm.
interested in different beliefs and how they merge, how they merge and how they converge.
Hmm.
So living in Detroit a long time, I had lots of friends who were Muslims. There's a huge Muslim population in Detroit.
Okay.
It
Okay.
had been the largest outside of the Middle East. I don't know if that's still true.
Hmm.
Lebanese, Iranian, Iraqi,
Hmm.
and who have been there decades
Hmm.
and who have assimilated, but they have an area in Detroit and southeast Detroit and Dearborn Heights, which are some of the cities that are in this book, and
Hmm.
they have big enclaves and they have mosques there, and
Hmm.
they have also a huge Catholic population because Hamtramck is there, and that's an
Hmm.
enclave of Polish Catholics and that kind of thing.
Okay.
And I think
Hmm.
that makes us a richer country that we have that kind of diversity. I really do. I
Hmm.
believe in that kind of inclusion. So
Hmm.
I wanted to put my toe in the water to say to folks, this is happening. It's not just happening for one group. This is happening for all of us. And don't think you're
Hmm.
safe.
Hmm.
Don't think you
Right.
can say that's not my problem.
Right.
Because
Hmm.
these folks are indiscriminate about how they hate and who they hate. They just really want it to be a white America again.
Hmm.
That's what that "Make America Great Again" thing really is saying. I'm so glad we're behind that era of the Trump presidency, but we are not
Hmm.
out of the woods yet.
No, definitely not. Definitely not.
Yeah,
So now the homegrown militia in your novel,
yeah,
they're determined to start this
yeah,
race war.
yeah.
Can you discuss, I know you talked about you were in the chat groups, but can you discuss a little bit the real life basis for this group that you created and
Hmm.
how you developed their motivations and actions?
That's a lovely question. I didn't want to use the name of an actual group. I mean, I do talk about, I think, Al Qaeda and the groups we know that are
Hmm.
international hate groups. So I didn't want to get myself in trouble and call attention to myself, frankly, and
Right.
name these groups. So I made up some names. I made up my little chat names. All the chat names are in my imagination, not real
Right.
chat names.
Right. Right.
Um, but they gathered together, not on Main Street, but
Hmm.
they're in their little spaces,
Hmm.
having their meetings, uh, doing other things, a kind of a social thing for them, social
Yeah.
thing. And so I wanted to create this group that could be a group anywhere in America that
Hmm.
could have members who are any kind of people that you would think about, old and young, and rich and poor, and
Hmm.
business people, and service workers, daily people in our daily lives. I mean, the sad part of it, to be honest, Audra, is I'm now walk around with such skepticism when I meet new people. And I don't like to
Yeah.
be like that. I'm the kind of a person who wants to say hi.
Right. How you doing?
But now I'm going like, hi. You know,
Giving everybody the
and I
stink
try to
eye
feel
now.
people's energy. I try to feel
Yeah.
people's energy around that. I still am
Hmm.
going to be civil, but
Hmm.
if I'm on a plane sitting next to you and I say hello and you don't say anything to me, then that's okay.
Hmm.
I'm cool.
Right.
But
Right.
I'm aware.
Now I'm gonna
Yeah.
move different because you got an attitude for no reason. So now my
That
hackle's
looks like
gonna
a
be up.
murder. Yes, exactly right. Who you are.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So in this book, a respected imam is killed,
Yes.
and there is a deep mistrust between the imam's children and wife and law enforcement.
Right.
Can you discuss the real world implications of that
Hmm.
dynamic and why
Hmm.
it was important to include in the
Oh,
story?
okay. Well, you'll notice that family immediately went to Charlie the Black
Yes.
private investigator to say, because the mother knows, you know what I'm talking about, this
Right.
mistrust. You know that they don't give us the full respect when we come to them, to law enforcement. I thought it was important. I have been studying the law enforcement stuff. My sister is a former police officer in Detroit. I'm interested in that dynamic. I've written a book since about how police in Jim Crow shot and killed my grandfather. So I've always
Wow.
been interested in that dynamic and paying attention to it. It's sad that 3 months can't go by without us having another one of those shootings, either a black man or woman, or some other person of color, some other person who's minding their own business in an interaction with law enforcement. So my hackles are already up about that.
Right.
I think for the Muslim American family in Detroit, at the time this series is set, which is the mid 2000s, it's not far away from 9/11. In 2001, there was this huge, backlash against Muslim Americans in this country. In the Detroit area, even bigger backlash because this is this enclave of Muslim Americans, and some of them are Christian, Arabic people. They're not even Muslim people, but it doesn't matter. Their people are taken by their face value. So I wanted to make the point that in this enclave of Muslim Americans, they understand their role in America as a second-class citizen, and they are like Black people and Chinese Americans and other kinds of Americans, Jewish Americans, aware that sometimes there's going to be this tension about the kind of services they receive from law enforcement. And so I'm not saying it's even endemic just to the Black community, because we know that other communities, Hispanic communities and other communities, have the same kind of issues. Native Americans, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about Charlie Mack.
Okay.
How did you approach creating her character and the aspects of her personality and her
Yes.
background? And
Yes.
what did you feel were essential in making her a compelling protagonist? Because she's in
Yes.
you have a whole series.
She's
of
yes,
her.
she's her own special class, isn't she?
Right. I like
So
Charlie.
she's African American, cisgender, lesbian, overachiever, single child. She's got a lot of little firsts. She's very much an A-type personality. She is not me, but she is an amalgam of me. I always tell people she's a brighter, smarter, sharper, more courageous than me, because I'm not putting myself in.
Right, right. We not take care of no bombs and nothing like that.
We're not doing that. But I think I have a conceit about Black women, and it is that they rule the world. People just don't know it. But if you go into any organization where there is some diversity, there's a Black woman there who's in charge of something that you really need, and she's got it. She's got it covered.
Yeah.
I grew up in Detroit. That's certainly, I've met many, many, many of those women in all walks of life. I live in D.C. now. I know that's real. When I go into a place, like I remember doing a piece of work for Howard University, and I went into the place. It's a Black institution, so I'm going like, who's the Black woman in charge here? I'm trying to figure it out. When I found her, I went right up. I knew you make the trains run, so tell me what I got to do. So I have that conceit that Black women are kind of natural born detectives, that we can see right through lies, and we're always like checking to see what the real deal is, keeping our eye on things, trying to make the trains run. So that was my entire conceit around Charlie, that she would have these almost this supernatural kind of, not quite supernatural, but she's such a, she's got a law degree. She's run a martial arts school.
Right.
She's head of this agency. That's why it's called the Mack agency. She had a PR firm. She's kind of an overachiever. At the same time, she is a person who really needs to have these partners around her work partners, to help soften her, to give her another perspective on things. Because I think she is such a type A. She doesn't approach anything with emotionality, not at first. So she needs someone like a Judy to kind of say, and I think she vibes so well with her partner Don Rutkowski, my token white guy in the series, is because she does approach things with such logic, and they at least connect on that level kind of automatically. So that's what went into Charlie. I like her a lot. I'm trying to give her more roundness now as the series proceeds. She's met a woman that she loves. She's bisexual in the first book. And she's settling down into domesticity, and she's got a dog, for God's sake. She probably never would have had a dog before.
Ham.
Ham. Boy, Ham. And she has a mother that she takes care of, which I think is another important aspect of her as a caregiver. She's not she's not going to be your typical, well, I don't know about typical. She's not the caregiver that's all swarming around her mom and doing all this stuff, but she's got her eye on her mom, and she's constantly in touch with how her mom's doing and wants to do well by her mother, who has early onset Alzheimer's.
Yeah,
she's got a lot going on.
She does, because when she was like, I used to do I used to have a PR firm. I'm like, what?
Nice.
Shirley, where did that come from? There's layers to this woman.
I love it. Because PR people know how to talk to people. Right. I think they know how to read people. They know how to go in the room and read the room and connect people and do networking. I love PR people.
Yeah, because they have to be able to read the attitudes and the motivations of people, because they have to sell stuff.
Absolutely. Good at messaging.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I love
they
that.
have to do all that. And I love Charlie, and I love the fact that she was a part of, the FBI.
Yes.
But
Homeland Security.
Homeland Security. But she's like, no, y'all ain't doing what I need you to do. So I'm going to start my own shit. Thank you very much.
That's right, because I know this is not right.
Yeah. She's like, nope, we're not doing this.
That's right.
I'm doing my own thing. And I love how, they don't want to admit that they need Charlie for this assignment.
Yes, that's interesting. Yes, you're right.
But Charlie's not shook by it. She's like,
she is so used to that.
Yeah, you can tell that she's used to that. She's used to them, trying to downplay her input and her expertise. Yeah. And she's like, yeah. And I feel like she's the kind of person like, yeah, that shit used to piss me off. But, now I'm just like.
Man, you have good insight. That's exactly right. Now, that part of her is sort of me. So, when I was younger, I was so concerned about how people saw me, and I was always working in corporate settings and things like that. And I had jobs where I was managing lots of people, including white men. I would use those white men to do what I needed them to do. I would say to them, I can't go to this meeting, but you can. Here's what I need you to bring back.
Right.
And I feel like Shirley's got that.
Oh, you're like Eleanor Holmes Norton. Look, I can't go in there and vote, but I'm going.
But I'm sending you.
This is what you do. This is what you're going to do. You're going to go in there and bring this back. Follow these instructions. Don't do nothing else outside these instructions. This is what I need you to do.
And you can be totally in charge of that. See ya.
Yep. Bring it back. Expecting results.
Exactly.
Waiting outside the door when you come out. Don't play.
So true.
So this conspiracy.
Yeah.
In the story, it extends to the highest levels of national leadership. What message are you trying to convey to readers about the potential consequences of unchecked hate and prejudice?
Be vigilant. It's there. All you have to do is look at the 535 members of our United States legislative body. And there are a sprinkling of them there, and they're not hiding it. Listen to what they say, listen to what they say and what they do. And we're at a point now, I think, Audra, where we can't afford not to be vocal about how we feel and to shut down some of that stuff. To be in the meeting where you say, wait a minute, don't say that. I'm not going to let you say that about that,
Right.
Especially for Black people, sometimes we didn't, in my era, I think it's a generational thing too. In my era, not necessarily didn't want to make waves, but I appreciate the young people who go like, "Oh no,
we're not doing this.
No, you're not saying that in front of me. No, I'm not. No, I don't buy into that prospect." And I've seen these young people in action, and I think, "Wow, yeah, okay, we can make some moves here." But it does take being both honest, both introspective. I think, not that you have to beat people down to confront their hatred and prejudice, but I think it's good to say to them, I see what you're doing. It's not right. And I'm not going to just stand by while you spew this vitriol or say these things that are untrue. Like this whole meme that's going around now, or some kind of thing around, this whole critical race stuff that really messes me up. So they've got this textbook out now that talks about Rosa Parks, but doesn't say she's sitting in the back of the bus because of racism.
Right.
That needs to go back in.
Right.
Put that back in the text. And don't stand for this kind of foolishness that's happening now.
Yeah.
For folks to say, for parents to say, I really want this book out of the library. My Johnny should not be exposed to that book. Then get Johnny another book. How can you ban book? How can you censor for other people? We're not going to stand for that. You don't have to read the book. Close the book.
Right.
You don't have to read my book. If you don't like it, put it down. There's 5,000 other books that are published this week.
Right. Right. Every Tuesday, thousands of books come out. Come on now.
Books, exactly.
Just pick out something else.
I think we just have to call people on it, and people are now. I see it more and more. Little people, big people, people in Congress. We have a congressman in Congress right now, who is a habitual liar, and yet he is still sitting in office. How is that possible? We have 350 million people in this country, 535 in the Congress. We can't find 535 people who are honest and vigilant and want to do good by the country. And
apparently not.
That's like 0.0001% or something.
Right. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Politicians.
Yeah,
that's, because that's what they do. That's what they do.
And think they can get away with it because they have been. Thank God for people like Stacey Abrams in Georgia who are like, nope, you're stopping that. You're not shutting down voting here. And you're not going to, nope, you're not doing that.
Yeah,
and lots of other people too. Lots of other people. And young people and older people.
Yeah, it's people, black folks is tired. It's been 400 years of nonsense.
Sick and tired. And, yes.
We're tired.
You've got a black governor now in Maryland who's an astounding young man. I hope he can make the changes he needs to make, even if they're incremental.
Right. I'm hoping. I'm watching. I'm watching.
I know you're
watching. What he does. I don't. These
and
politicians
we have to hold our black politicians accountable as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm watching him. I'm watching.
I know you are, Roger. I feel Maryland's in good hands with you there.
I'm watching because I read his book, The Other Westmore. It was very, very good.
Yeah.
And he seems like but the thing is, once you get in office, that's the difference.
And I know that it's hard work. But I think the first thing is not to start the job with when am I running next. Why not do the job you're in now?
Yeah.
Focus on that.
Focus on these first 4 years, please. Give me just before you start thinking about running again. Because if you doing what the hell you supposed to do, they're gonna vote for you again anyway.
That's right. Some people.
Some people. The people that know. So I mean, just do what you're supposed to do.
Absolutely.
Stick to the promises that you made when you started the campaign.
Exactly.
And it's like you said, we have to hold them accountable.
I think we do. We always do. We have to hold everybody who in public life accountable.
Absolutely. This is what you said you was going to do.
Right.
Now, do it, or I'm going to take my vote and go somewhere else.
That's exactly right. And that's why I focus on law enforcement. I grew up at a time when law enforcement was to be respected, because they're supposed to protect and serve. And I think they've gotten so far away from that mandate. If you're afraid of the people that you are supposed to protect, how are you going to do a good job? It's time for you to move to some other kind of job.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, because you can't just say I feared for my life and be killing folks. That's
indiscriminately.
We can't.
If I give you a badge and a gun and I'm paying your salary, I want you to be better than me. I can get Bobo to be the police.
Exactly. That part. All right. I'd like to talk about Don and Robbie for a minute.
Okay. Don and Robbie. Yes.
Because they're really kind of two sides of the same coin. But then Don has a come to Jesus moment.
Yeah.
That helps him kind of check his biases.
Yes.
But Robbie is teetering on the edge. He's on the fence. He's being pulled both directions. We're not going to say what happens, but why was it important for you to create both of these characters the way that you did? Because Don is really like he had these biases. Now he's working with Charlie and Judy, and he's extremely protective of them.
Yes, he is. He has
You know,
become
whereas
that way.
before that moment,
Right.
he might not have been. So,
Absolutely.
so why was it important to create both these characters the way you did?
Yeah, yeah. I want to give people a trajectory that they can change and do better. I'm pretty Pollyannish in a lot of ways. I'm an optimist, and I do think people can be presented with information that allows them to change and to grow and to be better. I know I'm certainly a better person than I was when I was a knew know nothing in my 20s. And I think even and I wanted to paint a picture of white men who have that capacity, because I'm not writing off all white men. I have some in my career. I have white men who have been my mentors who looked out for me, so I know they're good white men. And Don is an amalgam of kind of all the white men I have come across, the ones I have worked for, the ones who have worked for me, the ones I've observed, and all that. And he is my easiest character to write because I just know what's going to come out of his mouth before
Right.
in any situation, And
Right.
I wanted him to be able to come up against challenges and experiences in an environment that allowed him to change. So over the course of this book, he's really grappling with himself by book
Yeah.
3 and 4. By this book, he adores Charlie. He's protective of Charlie. He will kill somebody for Charlie,
Yes. Absolutely.
and he will also kill somebody for his son. And because he had a situation where his son was saved by a Muslim American, it's made him kind of sit back and take stock of his prejudices against Muslim Americans. So I wanted that to be there. With Robbie, I really didn't want to paint him as a horrible person who's irredeemable. I wanted to not write him with sympathy, but with a bit of empathy. And that's why you'll see a bit of his background as a young man and his family life. I think these young disenfranchised white guys who see this world they used to live in changing, where their privilege is no longer a given, are reeling with fear. I think it's either fear or love, and I think this is fear driven. And I wanted to at least give him a pathway in and out of that. At the end, it doesn't resolve itself. I might have to revisit Robbie in another book, to see what happens.
Yeah. Because you ain't going to be leaving me with that kind of ended, man.
Just that open-ended thing, huh? Okay.
Open-ended. I'm looking around corners for Robbie in my neighborhood, like,
So
watching for you.
that's really helpful to me, actually. That I've heard it from other readers that they go like, "Is there going to be a sequel with Robbie?" So apparently he was interesting enough to people, even though he is a hate-filled guy or teetering with that, that people want to be with him again to see how it turns out.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
had
because
no idea.
he's dangerous.
He is
Really, all I
dangerous.
want to see is him just be taken out. That's what I
Okay,
want.
well, okay. I can do that.
That's all I need, because he's just, when he shaves the head, nope,
Yeah.
he's gone.
He's gone. The question I would ask though, Audra, is he gone for good? And the answer may be yes. I just don't know. I just don't
I
know.
think he would be the kind of person that
That's
if
gone
he
for
ends
good.
up in Europe somewhere, he's
Yeah.
going to become more extreme, and
Yeah.
he's going to come back, and
Yeah.
he's going to,
Yeah.
because now I feel like he has a vendetta against the FBI because
Yeah.
of everything
Yeah.
and how everything shook out. So,
Yeah. But what if he goes to Europe and meets this woman that he's
he
bad
ain't
with
going to meet
women?
no woman. Come on.
I might have to write you with this book with you. This is the sequel.
He ain't gonna meet nobody because you saw he had one love interest and she left him.
I think that was
So-
in his mind.
You think so?
Yes, I don't think that woman cared a whit about him.
Oh, come on. She
I think-
she just
He
used
might
him.
have said hello to him or hi, and he went someplace and made it a romance.
Oh, he said, so see, that's another reason why I know he's
He's a
gonna
little-
come back and he ain't gonna be with no woman, because ain't nobody gonna be with his kind of crazy except somebody that's equal crazy.
Equally crazy. Yeah,
Yeah.
because this is not just men. Women are in these groups too. Mm-hmm. And to be watched. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep, he gonna end up with some crazy Karen and come back here and no, don't mind.
Yeah.
You can bring him back.
Oh, okay.
But I need to see
But he
him
needs
go.
to die. Okay. Well,
I
I'm
need
not
to,
above killing people. That is my superpower when I write fiction.
I'm just saying, you can have him have an interesting story when he comes
Okay.
back, but that last
He need to be
page,
taken out.
gone.
I'll keep that in mind. Okay.
X him out. He
Okay.
done.
Sounds good. That probably does sound like a very satisfying ending to most people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because he was getting on my nerves.
Or was it?
I,
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I, I needed
He's
I
getting
needed
arrogant
somebody to hit him on that bike, or
or something
he
like
kept
that.
wearing them pants. I'm like, why you giving
Yeah.
him pants clips? I needed his trousers to get caught in the bike chain so he could just flip out off the bike and get hurt.
Well, he was so needy of appreciation. Although he had you're right. He comes with a bad spirit because he's trying to steal from people. I mean,
Yeah,
everybody has that in them, and he definitely has
right.
that in him.
And he's such a whiz with.
Yeah.
And
And
instead of him seeing that you got the FBI here
yeah,
that's
wanting you.
trying to, you could make some good money with
Right.
them. But
Right.
you up here skimming off folks' credit
Right.
cards, and
Right.
and he's stealing from the wrong kind of people.
And the people who don't like it,
Yeah,
who
he's
don't take
stealing
names.
from the people who are just gonna be like, oh, okay,
Yeah, that's a good point about him. Yeah.
he's stealing
Yeah.
from dangerous people.
Yeah, and he does he doesn't start off from good. He could use his gifts for good, but he's not even
No.
trying to do that, is he?
And I honestly thinking about it now, I don't
Yeah.
know if he would make it back, because I feel like he might get a little too cocky,
Over there in Europe.
and because he's already stealing from the wrong people. I think he might get a little too cocky and end up getting taken out by some of these dangerous folks.
There's so many things, different ways. I mean,
So many.
now I'm trying to think, would he go to China and work in one of those?
Listen, there's so much opportunity there,
I like it.
and all of it ends with him dying. I like it.
Okay, that's all that. I'll have to dedicate that part to you in the book.
Honey, I can write some stuff for you, okay?
Okay. I like it.
So now the book features this collaboration between Charlie Mack's team
Yes.
of investigators and FBI agent James, is it Sala?
Yes.
Okay.
So it's Soleil. It's Soleil.
Soleil. Okay.
Soleil, yeah.
What motivated you to create that partnership, and how did it shape the narrative of the book?
Yeah, that's a good question. James has been on my mind for a while. He was in an earlier book. You might not know that. He was in an earlier book, the first book, and he's handsome.
I bought them all. They're all in the living room. I got to go back and read them all.
He's this tall, handsome Muslim brother that looks really good,
Apparently so, because Judy,
she's like flustered, isn't all the time she's around him, isn't she?
yeah.
And I was wondering, I was thinking to myself, in the mid 2000s, it must have been really tough to be a Muslim FBI agent. I bet you were getting all kind of flack and stank eye and all that stuff. And you would have to really have a good sense of yourself to operate well there. And James does. So I wanted to play around with him coming back into Charlie's lives and the lives of the partners, because I'm really thinking about him as maybe joining the agency at some point. So he's got his own sense of agency with the FBI, but he's also very much aware of who he is, like Charlie is. So Charlie left Homeland Security because she didn't like the profiling of Arab Americans, and she was seeing it every day. And she's going like, no, this is not right. I can do my own thing. See you later. I think James has a real good sense of social justice, because of who he is. And I want all my players to be thinking about and talking about how justice plays a role in their lives on a daily basis.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, even if we're not even aware of it, it's just, for black people in particular, it is a pall that hangs on over us all the time. And black men, how do they go out in the world and not think about who's could be danger to them? I saw a comedian the other day, and he was talking about people wanting to do these X Games and these extreme challenges and stuff. He goes like, black man in America is already in an extreme challenge.
We in it every day, living in America.
That's exactly right. Right.
We step out the door and it's, game
we're
on. Beast mode.
That's right.
You
So you
know,
got to be aware.
being observant, watching
Exactly.
everything. Got you,
Oh my
got
goodness,
checking your
yeah.
six, everything.
Yeah. And so yes, we have high blood pressure. Why wouldn't we?
It's
Yes.
like my doctors, because I'm on high blood pressure medicine. She's like,
Yeah.
well, Mrs. Russell, what is, you're exercising and everything. What is keeping your blood pressure so high? And I'm looking, I said, see, that's why I need to get a black doctor. Because really, do I have to explain this
Do I
to
have to
you?
explain this to you? I
You
woke
know,
up this morning, black in America.
and I said, listen, I know you don't understand this, but I am a black woman in America with
Yeah.
2 black sons
Oh my, yes.
and a black daughter
Yes.
and my husband
Yes. And we are
going out in
trying
this world every day.
every
And
day with the stuff they talking about. Read your newspapers. The
with
stuff they talking
Karens
about.
acting crazy, the cops acting crazy.
Try to take our stuff out the books. Try to ban our books.
Like,
We can't read
I'm
about
a
that.
black woman in America. That's why my blood pressure is high.
Right.
I mean,
Exactly
come
right.
on.
That's it.
It's just,
Yeah.
but I do like how James has control, because when Robbie called him a mongrel,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I was like,
Yeah. You wanted to leap over the table like this.
I wanted to get in that book and snatch Robbie up, talk about who you call a mongrel, fool. Let's go back in your DNA and shake your
Oh my
family
goodness.
tree. I know
Right.
it ain't gonna be no Aryan nation coming out of there.
Right. That's
It's
a good
gonna be
point.
some Italian or some Polish or some, you're gonna have some
Right.
African too.
Right.
So-
Yeah. That's right.
Just saying, like, who you
Yeah.
calling mongrel,
Yeah.
fool?
Yeah. Because
And James was just like,
Yeah. Heard that before.
I swear, this is what James was just like.
Yeah. Yeah. That's. Yeah. Because he's a smooth operator. He's heard that stuff all his life growing up, and he just knows when to bring his anger and when not to.
In his head, I know he was thinking, I'm gonna take this boy and shake him somewhere.
Robbie a couple times was really close to being in prison in this book.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
He's an
And
interesting character.
Judy's Pollyanna ass was just like,
Yeah, but Judy, I love me some Judy though.
Because you probably just like Judy. You
I've
said
met
you
Judy.
Pollyanna.
Shit, Judy. Everybody can be redeemed. Come here, boy. Let me give you a hug.
No, Judy, sit down. You can use that influence to get the information that we need, and then you need to go sit down somewhere.
Yeah, I
Because
love
we're not doing this.
Yeah, I love Judy. I love Judy because she and Charlie talk to each other about how they can lie with the best of them and get the information they want. I like Judy, but again, Judy helps to soften what I think is the sharp edges of Charlie.
Right. She tries to gives her a healthy dose of optimism. To
Yes,
keep her
she
from-
really does. Right. Yeah. And she's there for that role, but she's also the technology whiz.
Yes.
So she's this older, middle-aged woman, Polish woman, who's the technology whiz and not afraid of it. The rest of them is like, what do you mean?
What is it like? Like Don, he's like, wait, this is what? What does that mean?
Yeah,
What are
Don
we
just
doing?
said, give me a gun. I don't need the rest of that stuff.
Yeah, gun and a badge. I'm
Yeah,
good.
that's right.
He's, they're setting him up with profiles and everything. And he's like,
He's got.
what is a DM?
Yeah,
What is
that's
it?
right.
What is Facebook?
That part, I had a fun time writing that for
Oh,
him.
he was funny to me. I'm surprised he didn't mess the whole operation up.
I was surprised too, frankly.
He didn't know nothing. Like, what do you do? He's like, what's that sound? Like, that's an alert. You have a DM. Bruh.
What's a DM? Yeah, that's right.
What? You can do that?
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Come on.
he's my Neanderthal Archie Bunker that guy.
Yes, he
Yeah.
is. But you can't help but, I mean, I love him because he's that person. You see him struggling to do what Dr. King said to do, which is
Right.
to judge a man by the content of his
That's
character.
right.
And
That is so right.
he's struggling with that, especially with the Arab community because of 9/11 and things that happened.
Right.
But he's also an Arab person, saved his son's life.
Right.
So,
He
you
remembers
see
that.
him really trying to
Yeah.
check himself, and stuff comes out, and as it comes out, Charlie calls him on it, or Judy calls
Right.
him, but so
We
he's
talk
just
about calling people on stuff, and
yeah.
Charlie does that for him. Yeah.
Yeah, she
And
does.
Judy.
So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like to see that. I like to see that he's really trying.
Yeah, he is grappling with it, and
Yeah.
he's the kind of guy. What I like about him is he is who he is. You
Mhm.
see him, and you kind of know what you're dealing with. He's not trying to
Mhm.
hide.
Mm-mm.
He's not trying to say good things in your face and say something behind your back.
Mm-mm.
He'll just say it to you,
Right.
because he's just that way.
What you see is what you get.
That's right,
There's no question with
and
him.
I want him in a gunfight too. If I got to be
Yeah.
in a good fight, I want him.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Because you know exactly where
Yeah,
he stands.
that's right.
And
Yeah, he's gonna try to protect me.
yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
He
Exactly.
might call me something after the fight, but in the fight, he's gonna be there.
But as long as you got my back in the fight,
That's
we good.
right.
That's all I care about.
That's right.
Have my back in the fight. Don't be a
That's it.
turncoat
That's right. Don't be turncoat. Exactly.
like Robbie was.
Like you know Robbie, do you?
I cannot stand him. No, ma'am. Mm-mm.
Okay.
Mm-mm. That little boy was
He's got to
working
go.
my nerves the whole book. The whole book.
Okay, I got to bring him back, man.
Oh Lord, see.
I'm bringing him back.
All right, so you're from Detroit,
Yeah. Yeah.
which I got my dad. We would swoop through Detroit on our way to Minneapolis because my
From
dad
where?
had family there. I grew up in Jersey.
Oh,
So
okay.
we
Yeah.
would swoop through,
Yeah.
stop in Detroit,
Yeah.
see my family there, and in Albion and Jackson. They're like,
Albion and Jackson.
I'm
Okay.
probably, I might be related to you. My father's family's so big. I'm like,
All
if
through
you know
Michigan?
anybody, Simmons, Halls, Hence's.
Simmons
That's
Hall's Newtons, right?
Simmons
Yeah.
and Simmons Halls are the big. Hence is smaller, but
Okay.
Simmons and Hall is my dad.
Okay.
Yeah, so my dad, when I
That's
went
from
away to
Michigan.
Hampton, he was like, "Don't mess with nobody from Michigan before you ask me who they are, because
Your
it's probably a cousin. It's probably a cousin."
Right. That's great.
But we would swoop through Michigan, had to get my Vernors, because at that
Oh,
time
yeah,
you could
there you
only
go.
get Vernors in
That's
Michigan.
because it's the best.
Yeah, it is.
It
And
really
at that
is.
time, we only would get it every other year because it was not all over the place. It was
That's
a Michigan
right.
thing.
That's right. Right.
Now I can get it at Safeway here
There you
in
go.
Maryland.
Verner's ginger ale is good stuff.
But listen, it ain't as strong as it used to be.
No, it's not. They have some better ginger ales now.
Because when I was a kid and we would go to Michigan and
Yeah.
you would open up that Vernors,
Yeah.
you had to let them bubbles settle, girl.
Otherwise, you're gonna...
Their bubbles would take your whole life. You be coughing and choking and stuff.
Yeah,
And my
yeah,
dad
you're
tried
right.
to warn me the first time I had the Vernors. He was like, "Let the bubbles settle." I was like, "What you talking about? Let the bubbles settle." Try to drink it. I was coughing and choking and wheezing. Because there would be like a little fountain of bubbles
Yeah.
that would come out when you would
That's
open
right.
it up.
You are so right. I forgot that happens. There's not as strong as it used to be.
There's no fountain of bubbles when you open it
Yeah,
up now.
yeah.
There would be a literal fountain of bubbles coming out of the can. You had to let that settle first.
Yeah, they had
You
to.
go.
They must have
Yeah.
to cut back on that. Maybe some people died or something.
I miss it.
Yeah.
Miss it. So, what role does the history and culture of Detroit
Yeah.
play in enriching the story and the narrative of Warn Me When
Yeah.
It's Time?
I love Detroit. I was born and raised there.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're bellwether cities in the world, Audra, and I think Detroit is one of them. That might be just me and my conceit about Detroit, but I'll tell you why I say this. Detroit has been on the forefront of a lot of social movement and certainly economic movement. So even starting back in World War II, when the auto factories shifted gears and all started making tanks and guns and boats and stuff to fight in World War II, the inventiveness of the manufacturing dominance we had in the 20th century and certainly in the 19th century, I think, was structured in Detroit. The movements that we've had, the civil rights movements and things, a lot of it focuses on the South, but there was a lot going on in the northern cities including Detroit, where families, especially right after Jim Crow, Isabel Wilkerson has written about this whole movement from the South to the northern cities and Chicago and other places, but Detroit was a big hub for people stopping there and moving on to other places and being protected during Jim Crow from the racist policies of people and law that might follow them. So I think that's important. I think, certainly around music and creativity, Motown is still some of the best music in my opinion.
Absolutely. I was raised on it. I told you, my dad is from Michigan.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
So
So
I was raised on Motown, and he was in a
know,
band when I was a kid in the
oh my
70s.
goodness.
So,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's important. So I think I always I pay homage to Detroit in all the books. Every one of the books has some of the highlights of the city and
Right.
the landmarks that people some know and some don't know. But the folks who are from Detroit go like, "Oh, I was so glad to see Belle Isle in there," stuff like that. You would know. And I'm going to continue to do that because I think it's an important city, at least to me, and I think it's been an important city to America. Is it now? Not necessarily. Will it make a comeback? It could, because usually those kinds of cities with that kind of spirit, I think they just, they might be laid latent for a while, but they're going to come. They're going to come back.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's important to this book because, I think because the reality of it is, it happened in Detroit. These 14 numbskulls thought they were going to kidnap and murder the governor of Michigan. Who came up with that idea? I mean, where were they? Were they watching a video game and somebody said, "Hey, let's get
They watched one too many of them movies you got listed in the book.
I'm thinking, crazy can come from creativity too, not just good stuff. So that's why I think Detroit plays that kind of important role. And you'll see. I mean, my next book, I'm grappling with whether I need to come back to Jimmy Hoffa, because Jimmy Hoffa is also one of those legends that never leaves Detroiters. We're always going like, is he buried there? Every time they dig up something, go like, are we going to find Jimmy Hoffa? So
That'd be interesting to see how you could work that into the next book.
I've been thinking about it.
I like I said, when I read the description for your book, I was like, oh, I gotta read that one. And then I bought, and then it was, how Amazon do you.
Oh yeah,
Amazon was like, but if you like this,
did you like that?
You like that? And then they were like, did you know this is a whole series? I was like, well, no, I didn't, Amazon. Thank you very much.
Yeah, they gonna remind you.
Add to cart, add to cart, add to cart, add to cart. I tried to support my black bookstores, but I didn't find one that had all your series. So I was like, okay, Amazon, go ahead and take my coins.
Talking to the choir, I'm an Amazon fan. I don't tell everybody. I guess I am telling everybody now, but I'm going like, if we let Amazon distribute COVID vaccines, we'll get it done. No. Because they know how to do that stuff.
Next day, by 7 p.m. Okay, so how do you think your book contributes to the ongoing conversation around race, religion, and political corruption in America? And what would you like to see change as a result of that?
Oh, my. Let me start with the back half of that question. Okay. So I know in every book I write, which will always have themes of diversity and tolerance and assimilation. I'm interested in both class struggle and race struggle. So I'm hoping it starts a conversation among good people of goodwill about being vigilant about these forces that are around us. These evil, I guess I have to call it evil forces around us. Because we can be good people and we can be Pollyannish like me and optimistic and all that stuff, but we still need to be looking around and aware that there are folks who are doing bad deeds, and we want to be able to thwart them in whatever way we can, Yeah. So I hope it's a conversation that brings lots of people together to talk about that. What I want to say about race is, I think race is the issue that keeps the United States of America from being its best and its greatest. Absolutely. And I think it always will be until we sit down with each other and have this ongoing and very difficult conversation about the role race has played for all of our lives. Their privilege doesn't just happen out of nowhere. It just amazes me when folks are going like, well, pull yourself up by your bootstraps.
Why? Y'all keep burning shit down after we do it. You burned the boots.
Did you not
snatched the boots right away from us?
We had a thriving community in Tulsa, and you came and raided that and bombed it, okay? And also, did you not know that when you came to this country and displaced these indigenous people who were here and stole their lands, That gave you some privilege right there. You had land that was free. You didn't pay
This
no
is
money for that land.
mine.
You
These
know, like,
acres
oh, but
is
we worked
mine.
hard, and yeah, give me some land. I'll work hard too.
Mhm.
You know, so
Mhm.
that is so. I think it's so important that we remember our history,
Mhm.
all of our history, and that's
Mhm.
why I'm so incensed by people who say we should take some of this stuff out of books, or we should burn certain books. I want to know
Mhm.
the whole thing. Let me judge for myself as a
Mhm.
thinking, sentient human being and make my
Mhm.
own decision. I'm not getting just my information from Fox News and call it
Mhm.
today. No,
Mhm.
or nor am
Mhm.
I getting it just from MSNBC or NPR. I want to have all. I want to read BBC. I want to see what the Europeans are saying about our
Right.
crazy selves.
Right.
They think, what the hell's going on in
Yeah.
America?
Listen.
Why do
Listen.
y'all have why do you have some gun violent incident every other month in
Mhm.
America?
Mhm.
What's going on?
Mhm.
So I write the books to start a conversation.
Mhm.
Sometimes it'll be provocative. I want it to be provocative sometimes.
Mhm.
And unlike Toni Morrison, who says she writes without the white gaze, I
Mhm.
adore Toni, and she's brilliant, brilliant,
Mhm.
brilliant. But
Mhm.
I write with the white gaze all the time. I'm thinking of
Mhm.
this woman in Iowa who needs to read this damn book. That's
Mhm.
what I'm thinking about
Mhm.
because we know
Mhm.
about it.
Right.
But
Yeah.
Ruthie in Ames, Iowa, thinks
Doesn't know
black
about it.
people are the people she sees on her TV.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I want her to
Absolutely.
know more.
That's a good point. That's an excellent point. And you talk about race relations in this country, and Malcolm X said,
Yeah,
that if you stick a knife in somebody's back 8 inches and you only pull it 2 inches, it's not going to heal. You
no,
have to take the knife all the way out.
that's right. You still can't fall backwards.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
you got to take the knife all the way out. You got
yeah,
to clean out the wound. You
that's
got to
right.
sew it up.
And
But
give it some disinfectant.
white folks just ain't willing to take that knife out and like face the wound and let it
that,
heal.
I don't think they can. I think they know the truth that they can't get along without us. This
Uh,
country wouldn't
I
exist
think
without our labor.
they not only that, but come on now, they don't want to teach it to their kids because then their kids are going to come home and start asking questions.
And they should.
Because
And kids should.
because before kids are indoctrinated into their
Yes,
views, they are
right.
innocent.
That's
So
right.
they're going to come home and be like, "Why did you do this?" And then
Exactly.
they have to explain that maybe their grandmommy and granddaddy were the ones throwing rocks at kids trying to go to school, or
Oh, for
on
sure.
the buses,
For
and the
sure.
great granddaddy and great great granddaddy owned slaves, and
Right.
they don't want
All
to
of that.
face up to all
Know
of that.
that. And that makes Johnny feel bad when he reads about it because it doesn't make Johnny feel bad. It makes the parent feel bad because Johnny
Yeah,
says, "I just read this, and there were we didn't let people vote. We didn't let
yeah.
black people vote.
Hmm.
Yeah, we did. Well, I feel bad about that.
Why?
Well, I don't want you to feel bad about that. This
Mm,
is the way this country is built on our bootstraps. Full of
mm,
ingenuity and individuality and Second
listen,
Amendment."
if we could face not having stuff in the books, then they can face being uncomfortable about what
What's
their
in the book?
parents, their
Yeah,
grandparents,
yeah.
whatever have
Well,
done.
the way we've been painted in media for, all these years,
Hmm.
decades and decades, we feel
Hmm.
bad too.
Hmm.
Nobody was going like, do y'all feel bad that we making you look like thugs and criminals in movies and TV?
Prostitutes
Or not
and
in there at all?
dysfunction.
That's
Exactly.
right.
The only time you see us is when we're dysfunctional, like the Cosby Show in a different world was
Right,
this
right.
small, brief, glorious moment
Small
in
brief Gloria.
TV,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then it's
The
gone.
rest of it goes right back. Yeah,
Yeah.
I can't watch. There was there's something on Netflix called Money Heist or something, some kind of bank heist series
Mm-hmm.
made in Spain. There is
Hmm.
not a single person. There is not a single black person in the whole series. It's been on like 5 seasons, and I'm going like, what the hell? I mean, I know it's Spain, but can't you have like a black person walk across the street in the background?
Come on
None of that.
now, the Spanish
I can't do
Moors.
that.
Come on, there's descendants of
Well,
Spanish Moors
point
there.
zero four percent population black people in Spain. We
Sometimes
have a lot of stuff to fix, Audra.
I'm telling you, and we don't even need to be the ones to fix it. They need to fix it.
That's right. We just
They broke it. They built
presented
this
to you.
broken ass system. Y'all fix it. Why do we have to educate y'all?
They're not gonna fix it. We better fix it.
I know.
I'm gonna count on young people, black, white, and other, to fix it. I have such admiration for some of these young activists who are doing.
Hmm.
Emma Gonzalez, who was
Hmm.
in Parkland High School, and lots of them who are going like, no, we're not standing for this anymore. Nope,
Yeah.
we're not
Yeah.
doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, what challenges did you face writing this book?
The main challenge was not getting dispirited and trying to keep my premise that I didn't want to paint uh, it as black and white, especially around this protagonist Robbie. I wanted to keep some semblance of humanity with him, although at the end he didn't have a whole lot going on, but I still wanted that to be there as kind of a seed that could grow. Um, that was the hardest part. I wrote this book fast. I mean, because I think I wrote it in my head first. Because once I heard that FBI report thing, and I'm going like, well, damn, how many people tried to kill Obama? That's crazy.
What the hell is wrong with y'all?
And then as soon as I heard about this conspiracy, I'm going like, that's the book. You know, so I was walking around with it for a couple years writing it. So I think I wrote it in 4 months, which is fast. It's pretty fast for a mystery. And because I write, I like to write kind of with logic maps. I don't write a lot of, you'll see a lot of emotionality in here. Although this one did better than most of. People be going like, why isn't Charlie? I'm going like, she's not like that.
Charlie's
She's not like that. She needs Judy for that.
Charlie's just like, look, give me some sex at the end of the day.
So my editor said to
good.
me, she goes like, there's not much, this is not a very romantic scene. I'm going like, this ain't no romance scene, this is a sex scene. What's romance got to do with it?
Charlie's like, I need to bust one out. I'm pent up.
I'm trying to help her though. I'm trying to help her and therefore help myself.
I love Charlie. Charlie.
Okay, I
I
do.
love Charlie.
I miss her. I have been away from her for about almost 2 years now. Yeah, writing my other book, so I'm ready to get back involved with her.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I spy something over your shoulder there.
Well, do you?
Why don't you tell us what that book, Time's Undoing, is all
Yeah,
about.
that's my new book. I'm going to even hold it up for you. That's it's a historical fiction and a crime fiction book.
Okay.
And based on an event in my family. My grandfather was shot by Birmingham, Alabama police in 1929, where he went with his young wife and his 2-year-old daughter to work during the heyday of Birmingham when it was called the Pittsburgh of the South, and the steel industry was thriving. And so lots of people came there to work. And we didn't know a lot about the circumstances of my grandfather's death. It was my grandfather. Just the stories my mother and my grandmother and my aunt carried over the decades, but just with snippets of information, no facts. But when George Floyd was murdered in March 2020, I went, I'm writing my grandfather's story now. Because I'd already thought about writing it, but I just thought, how can I without any detail? So I just said, I'm writing what I think it would be. I'm making it up. So the premise is there's a section of 1929 stories in the one timeline and a 2019 timeline where his great-great-granddaughter, who is a journalist in Detroit, convinces her editorial staff at the Detroit Free Press to let her go to Birmingham and try to solve the mystery of her great-grandfather's death. And that's the premise of the book. And, it was a labor of love, and I put everything aside, including Charlie, for a couple years. But now it's out in the world, and so I have to think about Charlie again.
Yeah, I have to get that one too.
Okay. Someone asked
me
me in a conversation who had read Charlie, the protagonist here is Megan. He says, are Megan and Charlie cousins? And I'm going like,
there could be.
Well, they could be, because black people have play cousins. And they're both from Detroit, so they could be cousins.
They could be related.
They could
Plus,
be related.
Slavery mixed everything
never
all
thought
up.
of that.
So we got all kinds of relatives we probably sitting there every day and don't even know.
That's right. I hadn't thought about it.
Yeah. You could have Charlie do some kind of ancestry thing and Megan pops up.
Whoa. You give me a whole lot of ideas. I'm going to have to write it, put the stuff down, please. Give me a whole lot of ideas.
That's what my mind does. I
like it.
So what's next for you, Cheryl?
So, I'm spinning off one of the characters in the Charlie series. I'm not going to tell you because you haven't read them all, but in the... Is it already in this book? Yeah. So I'm spun off one of the characters, and I've written a standalone series for that character set in D.C. I haven't sold that book yet, but it's written.
Okay.
manuscript. I kind of like it. I'm going to go back and revisit it, and because I know more about writing, I know more about publishing after doing this latest book. I am thinking about doing a sequel to Time's Undoing.
Okay.
Because I've left one character, like I did with Robbie, but somebody we actually like. I've left one character in the lurch, and I kind of wonder, well, what will happen with her? What's going on with her now? And there's a romance in Time's Undoing as well, and people have
Okay.
said to me, "Did they get together?" And I'm going like, I don't know, but I could know. I might write a sequel about that.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the seventh, Charlie Mack. I've gotten three. I have three scenarios I've been playing with.
Okay.
None of them are putting the fire in the belly yet. So,
Yeah.
but now that I've spoken to you,
Got some ideas.
I got some ideas, some more ideas, better ideas. So this has been really helpful.
Oh, well, good. Then my job here is done.
Thank you. Thank you.
So why don't you tell readers where we can find your books?
Oh, sure. So Times Undoing is like every place. I worked with Penguin Random House on that book, and on my series, I'm working with a smaller publisher. So you can find it at most libraries. You can order it from any place. Amazon, it's certainly on Amazon, and I'm on Facebook because I'm old. I'm on Twitter. CHEADDC. I'm on Instagram. I have signed up for a TikTok account, but I have no idea what to do with it because I'm not singing and dancing. I got some pets, but I don't. My pets look at me like we are not performing.
We're not, ma'am. We're not doing this game.
Because it's time to eat. You can make some videos of us eating.
Like you can make some videos of that, or giving us some ear rubs.
That's right. Yeah,
all
so
we do.
I'm having fun now. I feel like the last couple years I've been sort of in limbo with this book because I've just been so nervous about it and it's been so personal. But now I feel like I can write again.
Yay! Good, good, good.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, we have come to the end of our show. I want to thank you so much for sharing your
Absolutely.
time and
Yeah.
talents with us
This is
here
like a
today.
pajama party, girl.
I try to make it a good time. I do. And I was like, I cussed a couple times. I cussed.
I
I'm
heard
like,
it. I didn't know.
but I was like, I'm
This
trying
is your
to.
podcast, so.
I'm trying to control that. I'm like trying to I feel like you, Auntie Cheryl. You're gonna be like,
Oh, there
"What'd
you go.
say?"
'Cause I will drop the F word, but I'm trying to be deferential to you.
You go back and listen to my shows, girl. That F bomb is all through up in here. Again, thank you so much for
Thank
being
you so much,
here.
Audrey. It was a pleasure.
You're
having a
welcome.
conversation with you.
Booze and Birds, you know how I do
And
at the end
continue
of every
good luck.
show. Oh, well, thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And y'all know how I do at the end of every show. I like to leave you with a quote, and today is coming from the late, great Malcolm X. And he said, "Despite my firm convictions, I have been always a man who tries to face facts and to accept the reality of life as new experience and new knowledge unfolds it. I have always kept an open mind, which is necessary to the flexibility that must go hand in hand with every form of intelligent search for truth."
Wow.
Until next time, y'all, you know what to do. Grab a book and read, and I'm out. Thank you for lending me your ear today. If you've enjoyed this independent podcast, you can help me continue to shine the light on Black authors and their stories by becoming a patron at patreon.com/betweenthereads, or by giving a one-time gift at www.ko-fi.com/betweenthereadspodcast. That's ko-fi.com/betweenthereadspodcast. Tune in next time for another great episode.